Shall we begin?
Football Feast.
Oh, well. I knew we was going to beat them clowns.
Bullseye!
Holy Toledo!
Fire away. He's got big balls.
Let's go, everybody. Let's go. Good morning.
I'm a kid, so I call it KFAN.
Hashtag Faith Radio.
Hold on to your butts.
Oh my God! No way! Ah! All I can say is, wow.
Personal foul. Flipping.
Thank you.
You homer!
Oh, good.
Thinking of those days gone by now.
I mean, pick your poison with that defense. 9 to noon.
That's a great setup, Bob.
Now,
What did I do wrong? Just listen.
What in the ham fat is going on with you guys?
The Vikings.
Go ahead and pick your poison, especially when you take a peek at what the Minnesota Vikings have done in free agency. The draft is looming, and Nordo and I are going to go through the official, unofficial, like starters or two deeps for the Minnesota Vikings, the mid-March version, with a right to change it multiple times, including with the National Football League draft and free agency and everything.
Doesn't it feel like that? That's almost like springtime 9 to noon OTAs.
Yeah.
Like we're sharp, iron sharpens iron.
That's what it is.
And we want to see where our heads are at and where this team is at. And maybe we can even compare it to late August, early September opinions to see if 6 months, how much does that really mean? And are we still seeing it clearly?
And what we will do to begin the final hour is kind of assess and or analyze with where the team is now, like what we think is favored for the Vikings to make a move at 24 for player du jour, position du jour. But I heard the go ahead and pick your poison with that defense. It made me think of the tight ends because that was the origin of it as we bring Chad Greenway into the conversation with thanks to Grey Duck Spirits. And when you have when you have TJ Hawkinson handcuffed to a left tackle and you have Josh Oliver handcuffed to a right tackle, go ahead and pick your poison, Mr. Defensive Coordinator. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but you want to come out in 4-3. We're going to throw to TJ or Josh. You want to come out in nickel or dime, well, then we're going to run behind Josh. And does that make sense? And good morning.
And good morning, man. I mean, I don't think I could be more excited about what we've done and, the positions we've filled, the players we've brought in, sort of the history of those players and what they've done.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing, as you see, is conceptually they fit what we do really, really well. They've obviously done their homework, which is what their job is. So we're happy for that.
As have you.
But I think what you see is you're now seeing the next level. Is what do we do with these players, with the personnel we already have?
You got to pick your poison.
You pick your poison. And I think the other thing is the versatility of these players, the ability to also those tight ends you mentioned. Oh, yeah, they're good blockers. So like an extension of now we're going to run with this, newly signed and very happy and probably has a new car and some new things and new clothes and new suits and running back. And he's going to be real happy to go and away we go. It's going to be fun.
It is clear, 5'2", Chad Greenway, one of the better defensive players in the history of Minnesota Vikings football, is a fan of beefing up the beef and what the Minnesota Vikings have done so far in free agency.
Free agency never fails on the Quasi train. Free agency never fails on the Quasi train.
So with the hot and heavy free agency action this week,
I mean, you can't just roll past what just happened. That was amazing.
Well, yeah, I know. You're right.
We've played it 10
because
times.
it's new to you,
new to me.
We played it. I mean, it's when he gave me this stab on Wednesday. I'm like,
So
okay,
good.
The over under on amount of times the cartoon character, the hyperactive host, hits that thing is 8.5. We paid the over by the middle of the show.
Free agency never fails on a Quasi train.
Love it.
Was that weight room music down in Iowa City? Did you ever have some Ozzy popping?
You know it was. Absolutely. I mean, Metallica, AC/DC, Ozzy, and just go.
So when Chad Greenway played, the oxymoron did not exist. The tampering or the cheating, however you want to put it, that takes place at the combine, where you got agents and certain people talking before they're supposed to talk and consummating things before they're supposed to be consummated. Well, that's age old. But there was no legal tampering Monday where it hits 11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern, and boom, like 15 mega deals are just consummated. It wasn't anything close to like this when you played. More money means more frenzy, right? With the cap going up and everything.
1,000%. Also moves that have to happen quicker because all of a sudden the dollars are going to get thrown around fast and there's all this preparation to build up to it, and then boom, we want to slam these deals home and get it locked in. And more of an announcement of the deal because it's been talked about and structured and figured out and all the ins and outs of it. So the frenzy it's a feeding frenzy. It's incredible to see the money get tossed around, and you kind of start to notice the shorter deals. Bigger money, shorter deals where guys aren't getting logged into 5-6 year deals. You're looking 2, 3, 4 year deals with high price tags, which I think is almost better for both, right? You kind of get a chance to kick the tires after 3 years, paying a guy $20 million and say, hey, you know what? We like this or we don't.
Sam Darnold, though, takes us back to Buffalo Wild Wings Crystal. We had that game against Jacksonville. Vikings got the nose down on the wire first, and they got the money, which Chad knows. Doesn't matter how you get to the winner's circle as long as we're all posing for pictures and everybody at the racetrack is cashing bets. So they got to the winner's circle, but that was an ugly one against Jacksonville. And Paul Charchian is milling about the crowd, doing Charch things, and Chad and I are both a little tired, and we just lean back and it's quiet, a little buzz in the air with the Sanford and Son theme playing, and Nordo about ready to unfurl some highlights, and he looks at me and just goes, Darnold, though. I didn't know what to say. Darnold, though. So it was a common thread. Now, I bring it up because Seahawks coach Mike McDonald yesterday, with all these press conferences taking place, Mike McDonald said, Sam's best days are ahead of him. Right thing to say, but is that a low-key shot at what this staff just pulled from Sam Darnold? It was pretty good.
A low-key shot at Sam Darnold in the past 5-6 years of his career. I mean, let's be honest with this, right? It's like he's been in the league for a while. He's had a great season, come off statistically a great year. But also, who is this guy going to be throwing the football to in Seattle? I think is the thing you look at in personnel, and look at
Cooper Kupp.
Look at who he was throwing to in purple. And with the staff that sort of rehabbed and brought him back, and the confidence and the whole 9 yards, and it's 3rd and 6, I got to have it. I'll probably go to JJ down the right sideline for a first down, and he'll protect me. He's not in as good of a situation in Seattle as he was here. Having said that, who knows how it's going to work out? But I like I like what we're doing. I like the plan. I'll be very curious to see what quarterback is going to be brought in to supplement. Same. But we'll see how it goes.
We'll get into that more around the corner in the second segment. But for now, during Sam's introductory presser, all right, he said of his final 2 games here that he needs to get rid of the football sooner and not be afraid to throw to the feet of check down running backs and live to play another play. So, I just can't wait till, from a heart standpoint or a mind standpoint, I can just put this thing to bed, man, because I'm going to lay it out like this. Of all the games over the years that I've called or been right next to the Minnesota Vikings, the 2009 Saints NFC title game, one Chad played in, that forever will sting. Okay, if it comes up and you start talking about Greenway and Pierre Thomas meeting atop the heap, Chad causes a fumble. The staff, Morelli's staff, they refused to say it was a fumble. Leber and the Wendy's guy in overtime, just across just the whole thing. Okay, it was deep. However, that's forever going to sting. The Lions game from last year might forever bug. And you know what I mean? It just might forever bug because I did interviews this week with like Softy in Seattle and some other people asking about Darnold outside of the Cornfields Covenant. When they asked about Sam, I laid it out what I thought was fairly. Is at that Darnold, though, that Jacksonville time, props to you, man. You pushed through it, and you got really, really good. Mm-hmm. And by the way, it's underplayed that you played half-ish of a season without T.J. Hawkinson. And then late October, you lost your left tackle. And then that thing got a little ugly late in the season, from what I understand. So what he did, absolutely credit is due. But you just, if you sign up with Sam, you can't overlook a game that is one of the biggest regular season games in the history of the National Football League. It's standalone. It's polarizing Sunday Night Football, though. And the right plays are called. The right routes are run. The protection was good to pretty good. And 5 touchdowns were missed. I just can't get past that.
Yeah, I think this is how quarterbacks are measured. There's measurement tools in the NFL based off what we're looking for. What was the gripe about Kirk Cousins and his stability and stats are crazy good and everything was really good. We love Kirk, but we're wanting more, right? We're wanting championships. We're wanting to win playoff games. Yeah. We're wanting to win important games. We want to win Monday Night Football games, right? These games that really matter, these national spotlight type games. And that's his moment. Darnold has this year that is everybody's like, wow, flipped it around. Look at KOC. Look at what Darnold's done to his career. And then you get to this moment, this pinnacle, this peak when you have to have it. And unfortunately,
for all different
for quarterbacks is that's it.
Yeah.
Like if you're playing outside linebacker and you have that game, you're like, okay, well he's still good. Mm-hmm. You play quarterback, and so those are the moments where you go get $150, $200 million deals and long-term extensions because you can win those games.
Yeah.
And to your point, was it all perfect? No. But the throws were there to the right guys at the right time, and you got to make them, and the guys got to make the plays as well. So you spread around that fault, but inevitably it falls on the quarterback.
Okay, much more on free agency coming up around the corner over the next couple of segments. But I want to close this segment with something. Ted Greenway's an elite basketball mind. Kentucky Wildcats go crazy. Your Timberwolves are the rave of all the national basketball commentators right now. They've won 6 in a row. They've gotten fully healthy. They just dismantled the Denver Nuggets in a nationally televised game.
Wild.
I mean, they're up 15, then they're up 20, then Denver thinks it's sneaky to get it to 11, but the Timberwolves won every quarter in that game. It was so impressive. The national basketball commentators, Kendrick Perkins and Stephen A. Smith and people like that, they're saying the ascension is real. Jim Suhan wrote a column in the Star Tribune for today discussing Finch's importance during this turnaround. Are you feeling that the Minnesota Timberwolves indeed are onto something here?
I think the rhythm of the season has kind of, the schedule has lightened a bit, as we talked about, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
But again, you have the Denver game and you take care of business and you play really, really well. In a moment where everybody's kind of waiting for the Nuggets to make that run. They get it to 11. It's the NBA. It's all going to come down to the last 3 possessions,
right,
when they all start to play, and you bend but don't break, get to 11, and then boom, we go finish the game. I think that's what it's about, is do you have closers in the NBA? And I think you had closers last year to get you to that moment, and then you got closed by better closers in the Western Conference Finals.
Luka and Kyrie.
Yeah, you just had guys that were unwilling to miss those shots when they were taking them.
Right.
And you feel like this may be a better job of coaching by Finch than even last year because of the movement of pieces, the movement of personalities. You bring these new guys in with an edge and an idea of what I'm going to be in this new organization. Oh, by the way, you still have this really strong core of guys and young superstars that he's melded together. And you still look back to the Randall injury, the sit out, as like a reset button. The Nintendo got reset.
Yeah.
And now we figured out, and I think he figured some stuff out of how the ball was moving. We talked about that. And then
R2's working all of a sudden.
Yeah, R2's back. You got that juke. And
got
all of a
the
sudden,
burst.
And so I like what Finch has done. I think he should get a lot of credit here because in that league, it's hard to coach when things are getting tough, and he's found a really good way to do it.
It clearly took a bit for Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards to mesh in a way like this. They seem to have overcome the your turn, my turn, your turn. Hey, it's my turn. And then you add Jaden McDaniels' scoring punch to the mix, and it's become a pretty cool squad. They've won 6 in a row. They have Orlando at the spot tonight. Orlando's on a back-to-back. Orlando's sneaky tough. With Banchero and Franz Wagner, and just some physicality and some beef in the paint. But nevertheless, you get them on a back-to-back, you're arrested. Should be 7 in a row for Fincho, 7 in a row for Fincho. Now, we have a treat. Nacho Lieber is stopping by to say hello, chat some NFL free agency and the Minnesota Vikings and the quarterback spot and stuff like that. Ben Leber will join his former teammate and a dear friend Chad Greenway with yours truly, Paul Allen, on a show produced by Eric Nordquist. He's mad producer. And all of that is courtesy of TimberTech and TimberTech.com. You're listening to 9 to Noon on your free agency speculation leader, FM 100.3 KFAN.
Thinking of those days.
Football Feast.
Wow, wasn't that fun?
This is a Friday football feast treat. 9 to Noon had a Vox in the Box yesterday, and let's put it this way: it's a rough week to not have a Nacho Lieber in the equation. With all the beef getting beefed up early in the week, a lot of quarterback related speculation. So I threw caution to the wind on I think Tuesday or Wednesday, saying, "Hey, you want to come in and join your dear friend and former teammate Chad Greenway on Friday?" And Nacho said, "Yes, I'm in." It's at Nacho Lieber via Twitter, Twin Cities Live, 3 to 4:30 on Channel 5, Maple Grove Lock and Safe. Thank you very much for your assistance. We greatly appreciate Ben stopping by. And let's start here. Nacho tweeted yesterday, quote, very simply put, J.J. McCarthy should be QB1. Add a veteran backup, not Aaron Rodgers. What led to that polarizing take?
You should have said it more directly, maybe.
Yeah, more directly.
And good morning.
I should have just added him, right? I should have actually just tagged him in the tweet. No, I was just replying to somebody on X. They're saying like, hey, I've said my take before on these airwaves. But apparently this person or this group has not heard that take. So they're like, hey, we haven't heard from I think they tagged you in it as well. We haven't heard from PA and Lieber.
And I responded to yours and said same.
I've heard your take on it. I've been saying my take on it. But let me just let me just clear the air here. I'll put it on X that publicly this is how I feel. And that is how I feel. I logically, it doesn't make sense to bring him in. And the best part about this is the guy sitting to my right, your left, PA, sandwiched right in between us.
That has to be me, I think.
He actually, surprisingly, has a different take, and I'd love to hear it.
You have a dissenting opinion on this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the situation, and the thing that concerned me the most about JJ through this process was not getting a clear picture of where he was physically after the original issue. Listen, you're talking to a guy who had an ACL in 2006, had to wait the whole year, come back and play. Very similar situation. And, where is he at on the sidelines? Why is he not traveling? What's going on with this? Was there something else? Was there a cleanup? No, I don't know. I wasn't following it that closely, to be honest. But just not knowing what we have moving forward is how important is this veteran backup you talk about going to need to be? Because we kind of fell into something really good last year with Darnold, a super talented third overall pick guy who had starting experience where you can kind of look and be like, hey, I trust this guy to go take us for the season. He did it. He's getting paid, blah, blah, blah. Well, where's that guy now, right? Who is that guy in the league? And if you're talking about an organization, what is the organization's goal in the NFL? Our goal as fans is to win, right? We want to win. We want to win Super Bowls. And that's the organization's job as well. They want that because it makes them money. What brings attention, media coverage, sponsors, notoriety, ESPN? We were here when Brett came in, right? The attention when Brett came in went from, this is the cornfields to, there's 45 cameras at practice now rather than 10.
Can I offer a caveat with all due respect?
With all due respect.
Behind him, Sage Rosenfels and Tavares Jackson, The other person in the conversation here is a first-round pick, 10th overall. He's JJ!
With 0 starts.
Correct.
So, I mean, if that's the part, I love JJ. I mean, I'm not saying this is like, if he is the guy, we all want him to be the guy. I'm not saying that. But who you bring in really matters now. So if you go down the Rodgers route and he comes in, he's not coming in here most likely to sit and watch somebody play quarterback for 17 weeks, right? He's coming in to play. So I think the decision is based off of that. If you're comfortable with JJ's being the starter and we need to go get a solid backup, but how can they make that decision based off what they know? Can they make that decision based off an offseason and a training camp? You know, that's the GM's job, right? That's where they have to go, and the head coach's job. I'm just saying from an organization standpoint, I want eyes on me. I want dollars flowing in. I want wins. What's the best option for that right now? With the roster that we have that can keep a guy upright, we just paid for that. Mm-hmm. With the weapons we have outside, with the defense that's going to look really strong, it's a win now, baby.
So to that, I would say, in my mind, our win now, baby, is not 1 year.
Yeah.
Our win now, baby, is a window 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
At minimum.
And by doing this, you guarantee that. It's just that you have different quarterbacks within that 4 or 5 years. Now you guarantee you don't lose this year with a rookie quarterback who has no experience. You get A-Raj on a 1 or 2 year. Then JJ's ready. Get him on a 1. Now JJ's ready. Now we have the win now mentality with the rookie quarterback. Can you get Rodgers for on the cheap? And if you can,
what do you like about Aaron at age 41 off what just transpired with the Jets?
He's a year further away from his Achilles. Clearly, he is as accurate of any quarterback that's ever played the football game when he's upright and healthy. Mm-hmm. He's now a year removed from the Achilles. We saw the throws that this dude's able to make live in action. Yeah. Buzz balls by your head. I mean, like just absolutely as accurate as possible.
Yeah, there's 3 or 4 wow throws every single game.
When's the last time he's had this kind of weaponry around him with his playmaking ability, with the O-line that we all are going to trust going into the season? Partially newly paid for and fresh toys. Mm-hmm. To me, like I see stability. I see a run game. I see tight ends we just mentioned. I see elite on the outside. You see elite in the slot. You know he can make these throws. You know he can make the reads. You know he's going to be an elite read of defense. I just think it helps us win now with JJ in the next 4 years before we have to pay JJ a grip.
And with that, and I've said this publicly, so this is difficult to say because I probably like Aaron Rodgers more than most people think. Most people like him off the field. But if I'm running in this organization, I think that he brings organizational chaos. I think he brings organizational distraction. And I think that he's a threat to J.J. McCarthy. And that's not what we're building here. So to me, it doesn't necessarily make sense from a chemistry standpoint, that word culture that we throw around. Mm-hmm. Yes, he may have a year left in the tank, but for all those same reasons that you mentioned, what we think is going to be an improved offensive line, what we already know is great offensive weapons, what we already know is a great pass rush, hopefully going to get better by bolstering the interior part of our defensive line. And then who knows what's going to happen with other free agents and draft picks in the secondary. We all think that this is going to be a better version than last year. And I think that we can still win and be competitive with J.J. McCarthy and allow him to be the guy. Your plan since KOC and Kwesi took over was a long-term plan to get rid of a giant quarterback contract, to get younger, to spend more on free agency, to build a roster through free agency. And the draft has not gone the way that we expect, but there's been a plan in place. I think this is a disruption to the plan if you bring Aaron Rodgers in.
I agree.
I can see that. I can see that argument 100% because I've been that young player in a position that you're kind of expected to go take over. But at the same time, it's going to come down to what is Rodgers' motivation when he comes here. Because
he wants to start.
But hold on. My point is not necessarily that. My point is, you talk about the distraction factor and all these other things. If his goal is to come here and stick it to people, right, to right some wrongs, to look at me, look what I can do, look who wrote me off, I'm going to beat you twice a year, Packers. Yeah. Like, that's the mentality he brings in here.
That's kind of fresh.
I think your distraction factor is going to go down. I think his focus and motivation will now be pointed in a different direction. Mm-hmm. And I do think it's going to come down to what his mentality is at. Now, we're all, just talking hypotheticals, right? But if you get that guy that comes in,
and I don't believe
here,
it will happen. Just for the record,
yeah, I mean that's very possible. But yeah, we're filling radio, right? Draft's around the corner. It's fun to talk about.
I like the conversation.
But the point is like if you get him on the right mentality, on a hey, this is a 1 year, this is what it is.
That's
we're going to
what
go
Saleh
stick
said.
it. We're going to stick it to people. Yeah. Well, where's he at now?
That's what Todd Downing said. Now he's in New England.
But I think that's.
But he didn't want to be in New York. He's a Jets. Come on.
I think that's a good point that PA's making, though. The dude's 41 years old. You think he's going to change his stripes physically?
I don't think a tiger changes their stripes. That's what I heard.
Well,
I've heard the same thing. I have not seen the proof in the jungle. But
okay, well, you guys know more about this than me and us. So O'Connell, I think it's fair to say Kevin O'Connell calls a pretty good game, right?
Yeah.
And continues to improve as a young head coach. Aaron Rodgers, if the belief is he likes to call the majority of the game on his own at the line of scrimmage, how's that going to work? I mean, O'Connell, coach of the year, by the way, puts, this in, sets this up in the second quarter, and I got this middle of the third quarter left hash on 3rd and 6 with this injured L at corner. I've been waiting for it the whole game. A-Rod changes it.
Yeah, and I think if you get that, if the egos are in the way, I think you're going to be able to identify that before if this is even going to happen or the signing like that. Those are conversations that have to happen before this gets done.
I think Rodgers would love playing for KL.
I think that there's more motivation from Aaron and his camp to come here than vice versa.
That's not even close.
Oh, yeah.
But if you think about, you talked about the change at the line of scrimmage. You talk about a guy seeing the next level of defense. You know what I'd love to teach JJ? All of those things.
Right.
From an experienced guy who's been there, done that.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know.
Aaron ain't trying to teach anybody. He taught Jordan Love to throw off his back foot.
Did you text him? Did you ask him personally?
He taught Jordan Love to throw off his back foot. How's that working out with that big deal? Seriously.
See,
that's so overrated.
If Aaron retires and he wants to come here and be a mentor and he wants to just be a part of the organization,
I'm all in.
For $100,000 a year.
Nate Katie to work with special teams. I'm in.
For $100,000 a year.
Yeah, if he just wants to be a consultant, I am all in.
Right.
But for him to come here with starting mentality, I'm excited, very excited to see what McCarthy.
Yeah, this isn't die on the hill. This isn't die on the hill take for me. It's just another way to look at it. I think the way you see it from your standpoint is 100% accurate as well.
Yeah.
And I'm a JJ believer 1,000%.
Yeah.
But I just again, you're playing a rookie quarterback next year. Again.
Yeah.
With a roster that's ready to win.
Well, okay, but it's with that, it's one thing that I think is being underplayed here, and again, you guys would know more about it than me, is when you have a play caller like the Vikings have, and you have an offensive staff that is incredibly well respected. So respected, with all due respect, somebody nobody heard of, Grant Udinsky. We know him, but nobody heard. Well, he just went and became an offensive coordinator for the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's how deep this offensive staff is. O'Connell can construct, and staff can construct offenses and call games to protect the quarterback as he grows. So that's just, nobody's mentioning that, but that's part of the equation, right?
Yeah. And let's just forecast a little bit. Josh McCown will be here for one more year before he's an OC.
Yeah. I forgot about, how do I forget about that? And by the way, the Darnold ascension, O'Connell, Wes Phillips, the rest of the group, Josh McCown had a lot to do with that too.
High level. Yeah. So, to your point, as Chad and I both know, it's one thing to be a great head coach and be a CEO and to evaluate players, but your ability to evaluate assistant coaches and bring those guys in, that's next level talent. You got to. That's when the coach really knows what he's looking for to how to build an organization, because Chad and I would be in with our linebacker coach far more than we ever would with Childress. Childress is there for our 8:15 meeting, and he's going to talk about acorns and black boxes, and he's going to try to motivate us in kind of funky ways, and I think it's kind of compelling and interesting.
Yeah.
But that's what he does, and he lays out the day. We're with Pug, 90% of the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And that matters.
Chew spit flying on your notes
everywhere.
Oh, it's just dripping down his chin. Yeah.
Slow down.
It's things have changed with assistant coaches in the National Football League, like conditioning, not hours. They still put in an obscene amount of hours, but just diets and people on staff to make sure people aren't getting pear-shaped. There were times, I think right before Ben got there and a few years before Chad, I'm not going to mention anybody by name, but there are coaches where if you peeked into their office, you would see multiple plates that have been half eaten. They don't look healthy. And they're putting in all these hours with no sleep. That
comes down to the head coach as well, is how hard are they driving them? How much more work are you really going to get done after 8 p.m., after 6 p.m.? You want a healthy staff? Hey, go home and see your kids at 6 p.m.
Amen.
You got enough work to do. That's a healthy staff. That's a healthy organization because you've got the work done when you need to get the work done rather than just wasting time. Posting up at your desk, pulling your desk down. I think that's a sign. I don't know that's what's happening. I'm just saying, over my years of experience, that was the healthiest of staffs.
5-2 and 5-1 on the Friday Football Feast.
And don't look in the drawers of those desks.
No.
You might see the half-eaten food of plates on top of the desk. Don't pull open those drawers. Yeah, you're not going to like what you see.
So we have 5-2 and 5-1 here. Just as an aside, like if 5'9" were here, okay, and that has nothing to do with his height, but it's pretty close to Heath Farwell.
Close.
I mean, Heath is becoming one of the well-respected special teams coordinators in the NFL. When we were in Jacksonville last year, after doing the intel on his punter and his kicker and the long snapper, I mean, they're high. And Heath Farwell, he's doing great work, isn't he?
He's doing outstanding work. It's this will take it just to the next level as far as I think how their organization in Jacksonville feels about him. When they signed Liam Cohn to be the head coach, Heath and Liam have no connections together. Like they have not crossed paths, any of that stuff. And then lo and behold, about a week later, it's announced that Heath gets a 3-year extension. Where does that 3-year extension come from? The owner, Shad Khan.
Wow.
So he's done such a great job that even ownership understands his value. And basically, in a ownership way, told Liam, you're not touching this.
Right. Love that. Well,
wow.
I think beyond just, I haven't talked to Heath in a long time, but being around a guy like that, he does, his intentions are pure. Like he has motivations, I'm sure, to climb the ladder and do these other things, but when he's always in the moment kind of guy. So, his X's and O's are one thing. His ability to motivate and kind of get guys prepared is I got to understand to be great. But he's a guy who's just in the moment. So when he's in the Jacksonville staff, he's not thinking about this or that or the other. He's tunnel vision on how do I get this guy, group, my staff, my team to be the best they can be. And he's all in. I mean, there's no half in. And I think that's really important.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to add to that, not to sit here and glaze Heath from 1,000 miles away, but
Farwell fan line.
I would say this about Chad and Heath as well. They both did such a good job of being relatable across all 53 guys in the locker room. I mean, that's the one thing that you notice Heath was everybody's best friend.
Right.
And I think he took that mentality into coaching where, as a special teams coach, you have to get along with the offense and the defense as well. Like you got to get along with every position group because you need all those guys to play on your teams. It's a very rare situation. You're not just dealing with just linebackers and just linebacker mentality, just receivers and their mentality. You have to work with everybody and everybody has to respect you. So I think that's one thing that he has done really well. It's just natural.
Yeah.
That he doesn't have to work for. And then on top of that, he, as Chad knows, he was brilliant when understanding, special teams, X's and O's, rush lanes on, what we had old kickoff rules and old, return rules. Like he understood all that. I didn't really care.
Busting up that way.
Yeah, it wasn't really my jam, but he totally, they looked at him as like a second coach.
Well, instead of being the guy who's like, I want to take this spot and be a linebacker and do all these other things, I'm going to be really good at playing linebacker because he was, but this is what I do and be really, really good at it. Yeah.
A question that may not be answerable. Ben Leber and Chad Greenway played against Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. Is it possible to define at their very best who was better and why?
I would say, just off sheer interception numbers alone, the efficiency with the football, it's got to be Rodgers.
Yeah,
but Brett's the guns. Everybody loves to watch Brett because of how he plays the game and his mentality and his got some showmanship and the way he treats his teammates. And I think you like them for different reasons. It depends on, are you saying the best statistically
when they were at their best, and let's say you're rolling into, well, you guys both had that game.
Yeah, need to win a game.
Yeah, and Bountygate went against you. You run up 500 some odd yards of offense, turn the ball over 5 times, still miss it by an inch.
Need to win that 09 game. He didn't need it. He could have held that last ball.
Yeah.
Just slide down on it.
See, I told you it stings. It's never going to leave.
Longwell from 55.
Just throw it in the
guy in
bleachers.
overtime and the bunk call.
Throw it to me on the sidelines. I'm open.
All right.
You absolutely cooked the Colts.
Let me take it. Let me take it here. So you guys playing for that 09 Vikings team. How hard is it to replace magic like that, replicate magic like that? In other words, it's like, I understand generations are different, players are different, rules are different. It's like if you think this guy is that guy, the 09 guy, he's not. Mm-hmm. He's just not. I'm not saying he's worse, but he's not. And if you think what's going to happen here if he joins the Covenant is 09, it's not either. Now this offensive line they're putting together here when they get Darisaw back, I think it's the best since 09.
Yeah, it's gonna be really good.
So there we got that. Now you had Williams Wall. I mean, you got Antoine Winfield, best corner. I mean, it just goes on and on. You guys and stuff.
I think it's all that was able to work because of Brett's personality in 09. I think his personality, even with Chili, and him and that, there could have been some rubbing there that wasn't always comfortable. But the reality was Brett's personality allowed that to happen. Consensual rubbing.
Yeah. It was all. We're talking about 09.
All agreed upon.
To flesh that out.
Don't take a picture of that one. I would just say his personality allowed that to happen in 09, though. His ability to come in and just immerse as one of the guys.
Yeah.
And again, get to know everybody's name. And he wasn't just I'm a superstar, watch out. He was one of us. I mean, the locker room, joking around, building relationships with guys, and not just the most important guys, not just with Jared and Hutch. It was with everybody.
If Rodgers flew in here, do we believe there would be helicopters over the Suburban
with
or
the white Bronco
Escalade taking him to the facility?
No, I don't think so.
I don't either.
I don't think so.
And when it comes to what you said,
part of that was timing, though, too.
Yeah, it's timing.
If it's off season, it's not going to happen. It wouldn't happen for Brett either. I mean, it happened we had a game the next week.
I know.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I would say that this word gets thrown around all the time, and it's very hard to sort of develop and create and hold sometimes. It's confidence. And every team's going to talk about before week 1, hey, we're a confident football team. Only very few actually believe it and feel it. Mm-hmm. When Brett came in, we felt it and we knew it. And it's one of those intangible, sort of mythical, ethereal things that when he walked in the locker room, this is it. Yeah. This is it. And we didn't even need to see him play in the first game. You just go out to practice and the level of competition and the level of just focus and excitement, it was real. And that was in 09. And then, and I think there was a lot to do with that because he wanted to be here. And we knew that he wanted to be here 2 years before that. So this is a long time buildup of him actually coming into our locker room. And then you mentioned all the players that we already knew that we had. We knew we had a really good team and we were just missing that one piece. In 2010, it was different, at least from my perspective, because there was this hesitancy. He didn't know if he wanted to play another year.
It was forced.
It was forced. It didn't feel natural. It just felt like
a fly in the ointment.
It felt like an obligation.
And as soon as something doesn't go well, and you don't really want to be there, I'm not blaming him. I'm just saying then it's just going to be slippery slope of negativity.
And see, different doesn't mean bad. But so what's different now? Okay, there is a fly in the ointment here. J.J. McCarthy. So you're going to have part of the fan base, the fan base was complete exaltation when that took place for many reasons. It wouldn't be complete exaltation here because of the 10th overall pick in the draft last year.
Yep.
And the organization, assumedly, was lockstep on that move. Owners give 20, GM signs off, Chili, Bevel, they're all ready to go. Well, I don't believe there would be organizational unanimity with this move. So it's that right there makes it different.
Yeah, agree on that. Yeah. There's probably a schism if that happens.
True schism. And I think, real quick, the one thing that's lying in the weeds here, and it's going to be hard to pull this out of the actual current players in the locker room because they're always, they're just going to say the right thing. I think they're sitting back with just a a wry smirk on their face listening to all of us talk about JJ, because they've seen JJ all year long in the locker room. They've seen him at, rehab and throwing the football, doing all these things. And I think that they're like, you wait. I think they're so excited to see this kid out there. I think they have a ton of confidence in this kid. And I think they're just waiting to unleash him to the rest of the world and say, like, this is who we knew he was this whole time.
Right.
And so we can talk this and that hypotheticals. And I think they're just laying the weeds, just kind of smiling like, no, we got our guy.
Do you think that?
But I believe the reports. I mean, I believe when it's reported by the heaviest of the heavy, I mean, the super accurate local and national reporters, that Rodgers is intrigued with the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, I think that's 100% true.
But that kind of has some no bleep Sherlock to it. I mean, really he is? Okay,
Right.
Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Darius Owen.
Who wouldn't be?
Yeah, okay. As opposed to, by the way, they play all their games indoors, which old people would like, as opposed to outside in Pittsburgh.
With the coach of the year.
Yeah, with the coach of the year. So no bleep Sherlock. And then it's the Vikings continue to keep their options open. Well, by definition, we believe they're looking for a backup quarterback, and that person plays quarterback. So by definition, it's an option. It's just
it's
It's an
obvious.
option, but we're looking for backup. We're not looking for a starter.
Right.
We're not looking for a 41-year-old starter. We're looking for a backup. If he's willing to come in and be a backup, then maybe.
He'd be lying.
Well, I agree.
Yeah.
He'd be lying.
And then McCarthy throws back-to-back interceptions in a preseason game.
And then all
you get an
of a
eye
sudden-
roll. We have to watch McAfee every Tuesday to see what happens. Well, the whole thing sucks. All right, Ben Leber, nice enough to join Chad Greenway. Chad's courtesy of Grey Duck Vodka and Grey Duck Spirits. Ben, courtesy of Maple Grove Lock and Safe. Norda produces, and I'm Paul Allen. Back after this.
Football Feast.
Fire away.
Hashtag Faith Radio.
That's us. He is I and I is he, Slim with the tilted brim, Chad Greenway and Ben Leber in studio, chatting NFL free agency and specifically beefing the beef. Ryan Kelly and Will Fries for the offensive line, Javon Hargrave and Jonathan Allen for the D line, some trench warfare. How much do you guys like those moves, and where do we expect all of them to help the most?
Go ahead.
I love the moves. I think the beefing up of the interior defensive line and creating more versatility in our front seven and our rush ability with the packages he can put together, from a blitz package, from a base package. I love these signings. I can't say it enough. I think the interior physicality was something that needed to be we need to get deeper. We need to get better and deeper, in my opinion. And you can never get enough pass rushers and flexible pass rushers in our blitz scheme. So I loved him.
Yeah, the way I look at it, and again, it's nice to have Chad here to kind of bounce some of these things off of him. But when you look at our, let's say, the second half of our defensive front last year, when Gink and Grenard were really sort of proving themselves to be super, super valuable, and they're like, okay, these guys are studs. Like we have to pay attention to these guys. Offenses could look at our scheme and say, well, we've got a blitzing middle linebacker in Ivan Pace. Got to watch out for him. We've got these two studs on the edges. Let's make sure that we have awareness on these guys. Let's make a plan for these guys. I would think now in hindsight, the offensive line coach would say, we can handle the guys inside. Like, don't worry. Like,
don't give help there.
Yeah. Hey, running back or H-back or whoever, like, we got this. Like, if you're scanning, scan to the outside first. Don't worry about, we got these guys up front. I think now, in theory, what we've done in this offseason is you go into the season as an offensive coordinator and you're like, how do we attack this blocking scheme? We're going to have 5 guys up front that are just dogs.
Yep.
And we have 5 offensive linemen. Like there's no way that we can block these guys mano a mano, one-on-one for 4 quarters. So at what point in time in game scenario and down and distance and situation do we keep a tight end into chip? Okay, well, we take care of the outside guy on a chip. Where do we put the running back? Okay, he might step up in the A gap for any one of these guys. But now we've got two potential pass catchers that have to stay in the core just so we don't have these 5 guys wreck our quarterback.
Yeah.
And then what B-Flow likes to do is mix everything around. You got Cashman on a blitz. He's running these bumpy stunts on the outside with the tackles. Then you've got IP running down the A-gap, blasting, taking the face off a running back. And then every once in a while, we've got a Harrison Smith that's still coming down, from a disguise standpoint, and he's rushing off the edge. And it's like, now you have, 2 guys out in the pass game?
Yeah, I think when you have a versatile defensive front that can all win, and then you have a coach that's trying to confuse you, right? So so the O linemen they're always on an edge, right? They're coming off of a TE game, right, where the end and the interior tackle are going to do a little switcheroo and run a little pick. So that guard's now on an edge, and now you're dealing with a guy. All 4 guys can win. All 5 guys can win.
100%.
And now I'm on an edge of a guard or an edge of a tackle, and I'm winning that almost 9 out of 10 times rather than even hitting somebody square because of the scheme. And if I do have to block you up square and we can go 5-on-5, good luck with that. Somebody's winning. And I just think it's where I wanted to see the dollars get spent, and I just, from the outside looking in, thought he did an incredibly good job.
Alec Lewis, The Athletic, theathletic.com. First, I've seen it. If somebody beat him, we're happy for you. But this is the tweet that I've seen here. The Minnesota Vikings have a new player. It sounds like the Vikings have agreed to terms with former Packers linebacker Eric Wilson. Oh, former Viking, undrafted Cincinnati.
Absolute.
Yeah. Well, props to Eric Wilson. I mean, he came into the league undrafted in 17 from Cincinnati.
Cut from stone.
We're in 20.
Have you seen this human being before?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
We're in 2025, and the guy who, let's just say reportedly had some trouble covering the pass early in his career. You got the Raiders in town. Darren Waller's new. Whomever the coaches were like, all right, well, this guy causes fumbles. He's a part-time guy. He sacks the quarterback. He's all over the place. Let's check his back pedal. and Waller and some others, it's Eric had to learn, and he pushed through it. And he's made himself a 10-year career here, man. So according to Alec Lewis, Eric Wilson, inside linebacker, Wilson played more than 500 defensive snaps for Green Bay last year. Key special teamer as well.
Wasn't he kind of splashy guy for us 2 years ago?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
splashy
like
play?
5.
Yeah, splash play guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Somebody would get hurt like Barr or something, and he would play.
Not last year. Four years ago.
Yeah, a few years ago.
2020 was his last season.
Yeah.
He had 3 picks that year.
He
Splashy.
would play seriously like 18 plays a game and have like an interception and a sack. I know.
5 years ago.
All right, Ben Leber, Chad Greenway in closing here. Joint practices. I don't have any steam if they have any joints. But nevertheless, with McCarthy, I mean, it's like, I'm not going to bang my fist on this, but I'd be surprised if he didn't play in preseason games. I mean, you need to get reps out of it, but how important are joint with the assumption J.J. McCarthy is the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings, and that's about a 9.2 out of 10 for me, and I believe us. How important are joint practices to get those for J.J. McCarthy?
Well, I think if it's going to River Falls and taking Jared Allen's cigarette out of his mouth and us going to practice against those guys, I'm just I don't know if I'm in on that. But I felt like the way they handled, was it the Niners last year?
Cleveland.
That was 2 years ago. Yeah.
Cleveland is the years are flying by. Niners 2 years ago, I was at those practices and was really impressed at what they accomplished. Yeah. Honestly, I thought
they're phenomenal.
It was way better than how we did it back in the day. It was just it was literally a cloud of dust and a fight after every snap.
Yeah.
And I thought the way they handled it, the way they managed it, I thought the competition was really good. Mm-hmm. And I got to imagine last year where you got just so much out of it with Cleveland. So I think you have to have those, and you treat that with JJ, if that's how we're going into this thing, as this is a game prep. This is game prep. Here's the call sheet. Here we're going to attack this way.
Yeah.
And just to give him that look and let him go make decisions.
I liked last year how Stefanski and O'Connell, and this probably happens all the time, they crafted things to be like, okay, do this and let's put so-and-so in this spot, and to have them push through things like that, because then it got a little scrappy near the end, like Brandon Powell and some guys were about to go at it. All right, lastly, the 24 spot, first round of the draft. Vikings a month and change away, 24th overall pick in the draft. Nordo and I, by the way, are going to lay out who we believe will be the starters this year at 11 a.m. with the right to change the opinions post free agency. They're probably good at edge, right? With Grenard, Van Ginkel, Turner, Bo Richter, Gabriel Murphy. So 24. What would you make favorite? I mean, it feels like running back, offensive line, defensive tackle, maybe corner. But what would you guys make favorite?
The way I look at this, with the way our roster is structured, is you got to look at best available in those four positions you just mentioned. And I'm not going to reach for something. You kind of look at your roster and be like, man, I feel pretty good with the free agent additions on where we're at. Not that you're completely comfortable. You always got to add young talent. I think back end, corner, cover, allow these guys in the front to get after it. Give them another half beat. Get elite coverage. That'd be my take.
Yeah, I would be real. I mean, not much has changed for me, even though that we've added all these pieces on defense, and taking just a little bit of the verbiage that Howie Roseman in Philly talked about. He's like, you can never have enough offense and defense alignment, right? And you look at our signings, I'm a little surprised that we got a bunch of guys that outside of Will Fries that are all on the other side of 30. I really thought that they were going to look towards the younger free agents. So that being said, those guys are all coming off of injury too. So on paper, it's like, yes, it's filling a need. We're very excited about it, but we still, again, have to look at this as a 2, 3, 4 year plan with these draft picks. So, yes, we need to bolster our cornerbacks. We still probably need to get a safety in here. But I would love a young, hyperactive defensive tackle at 24.
Same.
And if that guy's there, and then he can learn from some of these older guys and obviously still get some reps, we still have a lot of hope for Dallas Turner and what he can do. I mean, just watching his social media stuff, I mean, I know that he's just going through bags and whatever like that, but he's the kid is putting in work, right?
What the Eagles did though in the interior defensive line with those guys, on their run,
their rotation guy, the third guy,
that was the difference.
That's the difference, man. Like you get late in the game and you realize that all these guys have fresh legs, and then you just take the first round draft pick and say, "Hey, man, we're not looking at you as a 60 snap per game type of guy. Like, give us everything you got for 25 snaps and make them money downs,
and then learn,
So I'm still on the D tackle train.
Ben, my brother, thanks for stopping by. Have a good weekend. All right.
Yeah, you too.
Chad, and enjoy the game tonight. Both of you enjoy the game tonight. Appreciate you. Anything we need to know about Grey Duck?
Happy Duck in stores. Go find the new product, Happy Duck. It's in stores all over the metro. Aww. Top 10 is one of our most popular spots to go grab that amongst many others. So go check it out. Thanks.
We have an elite football mind joining from afar around the corner. His name is Nate Tice, Mike Tice's son, Nathan. He's an elite film watching mind, and he's going to chat out free agency with 9 to noon.